Hello everyone. Today we will be ranking all TDS game modes
and challenges based on how difficult they are. As you can see, I have the GRA PLS nerf rank, which means it is so hard I think they should actually nerf it. If it is absolutely nearly impossible, I would put it here, and is for the worst of the worst. Then there's the super hard bruh rank, which means it is still very difficult, but not by all means impossible. Still enough to make you rage though, and very close to the PLS nerf rank. Then there is the not hard, but not that easy. Basically, it's mid. And it depends if you get good teammates or not, and you need a decent strategy. Easy is easy, but then there is the I can do it in my sleep, meaning even beginners can easily pass this without trying LOL. Now, let's rank. First, we have the very original version of Hardcore mode, Hardcore Beta, which came out back in 2020. If you are an OG, you will remember how buggy this update was. LOL. Man, this mode is so nostalgic. Back then, I would have put it in the super hard. Bruh. But now, I am much more skilled. So to be honest, this probably belongs in not that hard, but also not easy. But it's still quite easy. And it's not super challenging. I just think it depends on the brain cells of your opponents. Now we have the current version of Fallen mode, and yes, this is definitely just easy. You can probably defeat this stratless with your average level 300 friends. LOL. The most challenging part is just the late game, but if you have good DPS, then it's easy. Next up, we have the pre-hardcore Fallen mode, as in 2020 Fallen mode before the hardcore update. This one was back when Templar was actually annoying and the 1 horsepower shield thing existed. This essentially made Hidden Wave feel impossible, but the economy back then was much better. So I would say easy, but it's quite close to mid, so it's going to be high up on this rank. This high purely due to Templars and Summoner Bosses BTW. Now we have Golden mode. Back in my day, there was a mode known as Gold mode, meant to serve a bridge between intermediate and hard. But this mode is very easy, so it's going on easy section. It was not even that harder than Molten mode, and the Summoner Bosses are not that annoying. You can easily solo it, duo it, and low-key. It felt more like a filler game mode, although I wish they had kept it. But yeah, this belongs in a bottom of easy because it's very easy. Next we have the OG normal mode, which nowadays is called easy mode. This was also back before they reworked it in around 2024. There were 30 waves, and Gravedigger would be the final boss. I actually think this is harder than OG Molten mode, due to lesser waves. It is still easy, but definitely a bit closer to the mid-rank. So let's put it here. Now we have Casual mode, which still exists today. It currently has 30 waves, and the final boss is Gravedigger. But if we compare the two, Casual mode is much easier, because harder. Enemies do not quickly come as compared to the original normal mode. Because of that, it is slightly easier normal mode, and IMO. It is exactly the same level of difficulty as Gold mode. Next up is Badlands 2. Now, Badlands 2 has had a rework 7 months ago, so it is much different. If I were to go with the original version with the original economy and wave structure, I would put it at easy, because it was basically just Fallen mode, but with 2 extra lanes, which, if anything, made it easier due to more money from the extra enemies. But after the rework, the game mode actually became a lot harder. Mostly thanks to the eco that makes earning money much harder, and also less wave structure and higher final boss HP. I think it's still easy, but harder than current Fallen and very close to mid-rank. Next, we have Legacy Fallen mode, which came out after the hardcore update. Yeah, this one's easy. This was basically a huge Fallen mode nerf at the time, since shields no longer existed. Out of all the Fallen mode versions in this list, this one is by far the easiest. And don't even get me started of when they added Sledger and Toxic. Now we have the original Molten mode, which changed literally almost a year ago at the time of making. You may have known about Molten Warlord, but did you know he used to be the Molten boss with around 70k HP? But if I am honest, this is by far the easiest game mode we have ranked for the list so far. So it's at the bottom here. This was basically the most beginner game mode ever before they reworked everything and was solo able even for level 25 seconds. Now we have the current Molten mode with the mighty Molten Warlord. This game mode is basically the bridge between intermediate and the very hard game mode. I would say it is the same difficulty as Legacy Fallen mode, maybe even slightly harder because of less waves and worse economy. So it goes here. Oh, well. Look who we have here, the OG Polluted Wastelands. If you were a TDS fan back in 2020, then you might feel very nostalgic. This is the Nuclear Fallen King, and back then, Polluted Wastelands had its own version of Fallen mode, a much harder version if you will. I did not put the pre-hardcore icon here, but if I did, I would put it at not that hard, but not that easy. Although it was still very fun and actually quite easy, you just needed more RNG and good teammates. However, this is for post-hardcore update. This means that it was obviously much easier, and therefore I am going to put it at easy, around the same difficulty as pre-hardcore Fallen. You might be surprised, but actually beating Amalgamation and passing the early game was fairly easy, with many variety of strategies you can do. The late game is what really makes it hard due to the circuits, making RNG valuable to you. I've seen games where people lost to Nuclear Fallen King, being boosted by Circuit to Oblivion due to worst RNG luck. So, yeah, this is around the same as pre-HC Fallen. Now we have the current Nuclear game mode, PW2, which still exists up until today. I'ma be honest, I completely forgot to add one icon for pre-rework, but if I did, I would have put it at mid-rank, slightly easier than hardcore beta due to economy and wave structure, but still quite hard. And, believe it or not, even for the current version, I would still put it around the same place, and post-rework is much harder than before since the economy changed and you only have 25 waves as before you had 40. Late game for this mode is definitely harder than hardcore beta's late game, but overall I think they are around the same. We have Patient Zero's game mode, intermediate mode. Yeah, this one's easy, very partially harder than casual mode, and by extremely slightly, I mean like 1 centimeters of difference. Even the Legacy normal mode was much harder than this. Now we have easy mode. The final boss is the Brute. This game mode has 25 waves, and I think it is around the same as old Molten. Maybe even slightly easier, but to be honest, it's hard to tell. Even though the OG Molten had much better ecosystem, easy mode makes it up for lack of hard enemies, and really great extra wave bonuses at the end of each wave. So, yeah, it is around here. Wox, the Fox's turn, is next. If this was pre-rework, I would put it around Legacy Fallen mode because it was quite literally an exact copy of that mode. However, the game mode recently got a huge buff. With the money system changed to be much harder and more bosses, I would say it belongs in around pre-hardcore Fallen rank because it is easy if you do it stratless. Even with the rework, it's low-key, a lot like current Fallen, just with more bosses, but therefore means more money, so yeah. Next, we have the hardcore mode, back when there were 2 Void Reavers. Yes, you heard that right, before 2022, hardcore mode had 2 final bosses, both of them being Void Reavers. Both had 700,000 HP, meaning double stuns and much harder to beat. But if you manage to kill one, then at least in the final wave you get more money if you need to micro, Unlike in current hardcore, you cannot do that if you need money. Since hardcore beta is easier than this is obviously the current hardest game mode of the list that I will put. And I will put it here at super hard bruh, believe it or not. I think the very quick escalation of enemies such as hiddens at wave 10, to balloons at wave 12, to mega slow at wave 19, with the lack of good economy is what makes hardcore essentially the hardest mode, and it does not even come close. Even though Polluted Wastelands throws high HP enemies at wave 1, at least you get money from them, and you can still easily defend it on, unlike in hardcore, where you low-key lack good economy to get good defense in time for the 3 shadow bosses. AMO, hardcore mode, is so hard for the early to mid that strategies are low-key very strict and limited, meaning most trio hardcore strats are mostly the same or similar to each other. Yeah, this mode is so hard, LOL. Oh yeah, now we have current hidden wave. Yep, I am putting it straight to please nerf. The tanks and the great amount of enemies in the hidden wave is overwhelming. Awakened Fallen King is actually so fast. LMAO, and you need great DPS. Not to mention, but to activate it is quite hard, with you needing 1 horsepower, meaning you really need a precise strategy, and also you need to kill Fallen King really fast. Admittingly, it's not as bad as when you needed 45 seconds to kill him, but still. I barely win whenever I do hidden waves, so I think it belongs in here, where a balance check is maybe needed. Next, we have Lost Souls. This is basically a much harder version of Pizza Party, as you are all required to bring a specific set of towers except for 1 free slot, meaning everyone can bring only 1 tower that is different. This makes economy challenging, as it already is with the current money kill system. Maybe 1 or 2 people only can bring farm, but point is, this one's actually really hard. I was considering putting it at super hard, bruh, but actually, if you know how to defend well, it should not be that hard. I think, in the very least, it's around the current Polluted Wastelands mode, but you may experience many clutch moments, which is why I think it's still very difficult. And really around the same level as hardcore beta, maybe even slightly harder. Ah, the OG hidden wave. Back then, this was the hardest challenge in TDs by far. However, the hidden wave itself was actually very easy. I practically had a 100% win rate whenever I did these back in 2020. Now, to activate it is a different story, as you literally need RNG and a really good team to pull it off. In fact, up until today, I think this was by far the hardest challenge in terms of activating a specific wave. However, if you do manage to activate it, then it should be, for the most part, easy, and even then, you have quite a high chance of losing, especially if your teammates do not do it right. In terms of beating the hidden wave, definitely in around the easy to mid section, but if we include activating it, I would put it at either super hard or possibly even at the please nerf rank. I am going to put it at super high, super hard bruh, as it is very close to please nerf. And this challenge was so hard that even a slight mistake can actually ruin the run by mere seconds. So actually, if you think about it, it belongs to please nerf, but I will put it here. We have the current hardcore. Yeah, it's the same as before, just with 1 Void Reaver, so it goes here, it goes. Without saying, since nothing changed about hardcore since that one update where they removed the Void Reaver's brother. Now we have the hidden wave, but post-hardcore update. So, if you are confused, post-hardcore update was when Fallen mode was so nerfed. It was a joke, making triggering hidden wave the easiest thing in existence. However, beating hidden wave was harder for some reason. I am not even joking. Now, yes, if you did this during the Sledger and Toxic Gunner era, then actually this hidden wave was a joke. But I'm not including that. This is for before that. in pre-Frost Invasion but post-hardcore and beating. It was actually really hard because you relied on Outtro as the only stunning tower, and it relied on you and your teammate possibly clutching it at the last moment, so this easily belongs high up in super hard bruh. Then now we have the tutorial game mode, and yeah, this one is going to the lowest rank, not even going to explain. Finally, we have quick draw, and yeah, I could not find a better icon, I am sorry. This belongs either in super hard bruh or easy. It belongs to easy if we are talking about pre-rework Badlands, but no, since we are talking about the current version, I think it belongs in super hard. Maybe even close to please nerf, because it was so hard it has repeatedly made me want to beg the devs to nerf the timer required to get quick draw. I don't know why, but I seem to can almost never get it in time. So yeah, it's either I super hard or low please nerf. But here is my ranking. CI.